Welcome back to the live. It is a very rainy Tuesday morning. But welcome to Mekis Matters, no matter what. Just to head you off at the path, schools will not be closing. Because I can the disturbance in the forest where the text messages are going to start coming in like it's raining. Yeah, indeed it is. Fun fact, I found out this morning, or I learned this morning, that in New York, if schools only get 4 snow days like a year, so if you use up those snow days, then you get a week added on to the school year at the end of year because you have to reclaim the days somehow. So I'm gonna actually ask my ministry if that is a rule that exists. I don't remember it being a thing when I was younger. I think we closed for heavy rain once, outside of a hurricane scenario, of course. But I don't remember us ever getting that day back. But yeah, you have to replace the days in New York. So, and I'm pretty sure Florida has a similar regulation. But don't quote me on that. We don't get snow; they get rain. So yeah, the hot drink of the day is the Vietnamese instant coffee, the chat. I brought some in so I could finally try it because she has been, every time I make it, she's like, it smells so good. So I said, all right, let me bring some in. Let me share because allegedly sharing is caring. But that is a hot drink and it's definitely needed on this very gloomy day. And the hot take of today is actually knowing when to get off the wave, and figuring out that, like, the balance between fighting for your personal best to be your personal best and making sure that your team can perform well. So it was actually a conversation that I was having with my partner, and she basically was like, Lindsey Vaughn tore her ACL. She's an Olympic skier for the United States, tore her ACL, and then still competed in the Winter Olympics. And we were talking about, okay, yes, it's your last Winter Olympics, but you are also 40 years old. And injuries at a certain age do not hit the same. As somebody who's played rugby, who's played basketball, I could tell you that if I were to play rugby right now, y'all would need to find a new minister of education. Yeah, it doesn't hit the same once you hit a certain age. So we talked about how, you know that push or that drive to, do one more great race or set one more personal record actually cost probably a younger, more fit, more ready athlete from spot on the team. And it's about, we see that challenge here as well, no? Like we see it in business where persons are so hell bent sometimes on legacy, that they don't know when to kind of step aside and say, my time has come. It's time to make way for the next generation. I mean, that's my goal. I want to be here when I'm 72. I'm letting y'all know from now. You have a few more years left of me. But yeah, so knowing when to get off the wave, knowing as well to recognize that it's time for you to exercise some self-care and kind of finding that balance between, yes, I want to go out on top, but then when is on top? One would argue that Lindsey Vonn was already on top. And then you tore your ACL and continue to ski with a serious. I mean, if you know anything about ACL injuries, they are career ending in most cases. So I'm really hoping that this particular incident is not ability to walk ending, because that's also a risk that you take. The older you get, and the more you compete in these types of risky sports. So just a note on that, knowing when to get off the wave and knowing when to make sure that the team makes it through, whether or not you yourself make it through. The word of the day for today, February 10th. And again, if you're just joining me on this vocabulary building journey, we did change it up a bit. So in the past, it was just word of the day and a sentence that uses it, but a fun fact about it and its etymology, where it came from, brought by Merriam-Webster Dictionary. And the word of today is besmirch, which is a word that I like to say. To besmirch the reputation, name, honor, etc. of someone or something is to cause harm or damage to it. The allegations have besmirched the company's reputation. We don't see that happening often enough these days. These days, there are many things that should besmirch someone's reputation, and yet it does not, especially in our culture here. But where did it come from? So actually, the prefix be has several applications in English. In the case of besmirch, it means to make or cause to be. But what does smirch itself mean? Because you besmirch. Since the 1400s, smirch has been used as a verb meaning make dirty, stained, or discolored. Besmirch joined English in the early 1600s, and today, smirch and besmirch are both used when something, and especially something abstract like your reputation, is being figuratively sullied. So it's either being damaged or harmed. Besmirch isn't unique in its journey, which has a history of attaching be to existing verbs to form synonyms. For example, befriend combines be in its to make or cause to be sense with the verb friend, meaning to act as a friend. So you befriend someone. Befuddle combines be in its thoroughly sense with fuddle, meaning stupefy with or as if to drink, like you're befuddled with, Heineken at the regatta, which is a normal thing. Or Wutub juice at Carnival Village. Befog also combines be in its to provide or cover with sense with fog, meaning to cover with or as if with fog. So besmirch is the word of the day. Start a challenge, like, because I know some students tune into the live talk. So maybe I'll start a challenge where if you could send me your best sentence using the word of the day, you get something, maybe a Snickers bar. I don't know. What do the kids go for these days? Nobody knows. But yeah, so besmirch is the word of the day. And as I said, sometimes you do need to be besmirched um, of your reputation. Game of the month remains Assassin's Creed 2. Slow chugging, but we're getting there. I realize, it's not until you go back and you play like an older game that you realize just how far technology has come in terms of game mechanics, movement. The only game in which this rarely changes is Grand Theft Auto. The same way you tumble down a staircase in Grand Theft Auto 3 is the same way you tumble down a staircase in GTA 5. It's very aggravating. But nevertheless, look forward to GTA 6 sometime coming out eventually. Perhaps when I'm about to retire, but we'll see. Um, so yeah, let me see where we're at. So game of the month, Assassin's Creed 2. There are a few games coming out this year. I think I'm gonna do like my top like 5 most anticipated games. But yeah, I'll let you guys know if I decide to do that. Because when will I ever have the time to play them, right? Moving on to the main topic. So today I wanted to take a bit of a deep dive. Not too deep. We're not going Titanic deep, not that deep. But just to kind of look or take a look into the transformation of division public education. Now, this is a topic that I myself, as a member of parliament, posed questions to my predecessor's predecessor about, former Minister Samuel, and then uh, didn't get a chance to question my immediate predecessor about it because he was not here that long. But nevertheless, over 2020 to 2024, it is something that kept popping up. And I understand the concerns. I see some members of parliament have asked questions about it. I have some questions actually that were sent to me in writing that we just got from MP Duran that we will then be providing a written response to. But I also wanted to just talk about it here for a bit because in the you send the questions and then you also put out a press release. So while it was addressed in the media, I also feel like I'll address it here, which is my form of media. So the transfer of division public education, unfortunately, was kind of sold of public education. But just to give some background, in 2016, and I have 2 screens here because I have the advice, the Council of Ministers advice. I'm not going to read it in its entirety because you should not do that, but I just want to give some context. So in September 2016, in accordance with stipulations of the Constitution and National Ordinance on the Establishment and Organization of SIMATIN and the organizational structure of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, the Council of Ministers decided, at the request of the then Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports, Mrs. Very Jacobs, to establish a temporary interdepartmental committee. This committee was then tasked to conduct a thorough review of public education after it became evident, and we know it, that there are challenges within the divisions. Now, many of the challenges are bureaucratic. It's very difficult to kind of move in an agile way when you have to, even for a simple maintenance, go through the regular process. So this exercise, as I have now come to understand, because as I said, when I was in parliament, it was kind of branded as a privatization of public education, which you can't have because then it's no longer public. Um, so ultimately, question that I asked was never, thoroughly answered. But now, since I've become minister and I've learned a bit more from my SG, from other of education, from reading the reports, and also sitting with SOAB, who is guiding this transformation. It's now a transformation is what is happening, not privatization. So it was temporarily halted in 2020. And then last year, the project was kind of restarted by my immediate predecessor. And so that it will include a reorganization of DPE and public education on a whole. It doesn't take it out of government, it actually structures it a bit. It takes it out to the extent of it will become more agile and more lean, but it's not going to be private, so to speak. So, and this again goes back to what I said about the fact that within public education, it takes a considerable amount of time to implement even the smallest change, to execute projects, to conduct structured and emergency maintenance and repair. And as I mentioned, this is in large part due to the bureaucratic processes within government. If you have a broken toilet, you literally have to go through the same process of fixing it that everything else goes through, and it's very tedious. And sometimes when you need to respond like that, you need to have that ability to do so. I had some other notes. So yes, as I mentioned, there was in the first phase of this project a focus on the design of the transition and reorganization. Change management is also going to play a large part of it, which addresses sort of human resource challenges, training and development of teachers, um, and so forth. And additionally, an outline of an implementation plan that's going to guide the process. So we've had meetings with SOAB regarding this. What this is going to do is transition Division Public Education into a slightly more independent administrative body, still, of course, within the ministry's overview and control, but with a bit more structure and a bit more agility to be able to address the challenges that you constantly face in public education. So I've told my SG that this is a priority now that I've gotten the full picture of it, and I will also be publishing my answer to the member of parliament, just to let the public be able to read it as well as see it here. That this is not about privatizing public education. It is about making it more agile to address the realities that we live in. And the reality is, if you need to fix something at a public school, it should not take, the prolonged procurement route that everything else takes. There needs to be some flexibility, some agility, with, of course, still maintaining checks and balances to make sure that public funding is still well controlled and well managed. So there will be more updates on this as the project moves forward, as well as stakeholder consultations with the change manager that's going to be brought in. And I will then just build in an update, maybe not every week because there won't be updates every week, but perhaps once a month as we move forward with the transformation of Division Public Education. So I will also check and see what, if anything, can be published, because you can't share advices from government, no matter what people would want to think. But yes, so this, like I said, is a long-running project. 2016 September was the actual decision made. Then, of course, you had Hurricane Irma, so that, of course, waylaid some, and then you had COVID-19, which waylaid some actions on it. So we're trying to now build some steam and build some momentum and get it to as close a completion point as possible, if not actually completing it in this term or before this term ends. So that was a bit on the transformation of DPE. Anyone that has any questions, as I said, I will be answering in writing the questions that I received in writing, but I will also be providing some more updates. Maybe we do an interview with the persons that were there when the decision. And now that I have it sort of properly explained, now that it's not a privatization, because that was my main concern. As a member of parliament, 100% concerned. You're talking about privatizing public education, it's a bit of an oxymoron. But in this instance, this is not a privatization, this is a transformation, and it is desperately needed. There have been concerns about public education, um, I would say, for the better part of 2 decades. And rather than, continue to politicize the issue, I think we just need to, there's always a point of self reflection. You look yourself in the mirror and you say that something needs to change. The change that was decided upon, now under my leadership, it's going to move forward, and the final decisions that need to happen so that we ensure that everybody is protected, respected, but that most of all, students begin to receive the high quality education that I believe they deserve in public education. So that was that. As I mentioned, last week we had steering committee week, where we got, let me take a sip, where we got some updates on the FRLP, Fostering Resilient Learning Program projects, which include System Marie Library, as well as on ERP1, which is the school gyms and sports facilities projects. So System Marie Laurence, I believe they said it's supposed to start construction. Sorry, guys, rough gym day, in March 2026. Charles Leopold Bell and the library construction contracts are awaiting awarding. The fire department, I believe, still has to deliver the fire safety report, as well as the fire safety report for many other permits. We know about this particular ongoing challenge with the current go slow at the fire department. But nevertheless, things are progressing well with the MMIS project going well. Um, I've expressed some concerns more on a timing and a content front to the NRPB. So that's going to be a ministry management information system. So just a MIS. You can track student data, track other ministry data, subsidies, etc. That is put into the system. So right now, I think it's about making sure that what is functioning in government can talk to each other, because that's the biggest challenge of any digitalization project, is making sure that these systems can interconnect and speak to each other when necessary. And on the school gyms and sports facilities, I believe we are close to signing the contracts. So very much looking forward to those projects getting. It has been a considerable amount of time. Do you like next year's? Yeah, it's about 10 years. Yeah. But yes, hopefully we will get to see some movement on those. And, I will always keep pushing and providing updates wherever I can. This Friday, the 13th, we have the ministry strategic session. This is going to be an all-day in-depth session with all internal ministry stakeholders, and we'll focus on prioritization of projects and initiatives, a revamp to resource deployment, and streamlining legislative efforts across the ministry. Now, this is the strategic plan 2027 to 2037, because the previous strategic plan expires this year. So we're going to be taking, what has worked, what was maybe not, what is further along that can be blended into the 2027 plan, and then move forward from there. Following this session, the intention is to also consult with external stakeholders, in particular public, subsidized, and private schools, staff and management, on the education part of the plan, as well as those organizations within sport, such as NSI and SMSF, the Smart and Sports Federation, and culture, such as Monument Council, etc., to make sure that it's a very holistically framed plan that we can deploy across the next 10 years. The goal, of course, always remains to have a smart strategic plan that provides targeted deliverables, benchmarks, and baselines for the rest of the term, and for whomever may sit in this seat thereafter. And moving on to sports, I feel like I'm on ESPN. I want to congratulations to Hilton Grand Vacations and the Collectivité de Saint-Martin. They came in first and second, respectively, in the Business Hoops tournament, which was a very, very epic tournament. I gotta say, Jose and Cleon and the gang, I big up, was really enjoyable. Got a little heated in the semifinals, and I didn't get to go to the finals, but I saw videos. I saw the very Chicago Bulls like intro, the lights and everything. I was very much looking forward to the 2027 edition taking place in an air-conditioned Sports Auditorium, which is my next update. We are going to be having a meeting with the project manager for that particular initiative to discuss next steps in collaboration with NSI. And my goal is to hopefully have the works completed by mid-April. We shall see. I don't know. I just throw it out there, and I wish upon a star, and whatever happens, happens. But yes, Business Hoops, definitely a fun time. If you were not there, you really missed out. The energy, all the companies, the staff coming out, SMMC, shout out to y'all, Port St. Martin as well. It was really great to see staff come out in the uniforms, representing for their company, and really cheering the guys on. And also special shout out to my boy in the collectivity, Mr. Zapata, because I saw you on the court doing your thing. Really a great time, and also great that the collectivity participated for the first time. So hope to see them back as well. And this is really what it's about, that cross-border collaboration and cooperation for sports and for everything that we should be collaborating on. And in other sports works, the work is progressing on the multi-purpose court at Raul Illich Sports Complex. You'll see that the National Sports Institute put up some updates. You could follow along with our work on his Facebook page. This is of course, the work that results from a previous MOU that was signed in a previous ZV and SMMC. So very much looking forward to that progressing well and being able to, maybe hit the ball here or there, or throw one, who knows. And then in the coming weeks, I will be sharing more about this, but I kind of wanted to put it on everybody's radar that there's going to be a bit of a policy shift with regards to sports, but also with regards to culture when it comes to incidental subsidies. Now, historically, the policy has been that if you, as an individual, have something you would like to pursue, you can come to government and ask for an incidental subsidy. Now, this can range anywhere from 5,000 guilders to, I've seen as low as 3,000 guilders to, to 10,000 to 15,000, for one person to attend an event or a workshop or anything like that. What this is proven to be is not even in the sense of a financial strain, but in a different way. It's an administrative strain on the ministry's processes. The same process is kind of the same challenge with Division Public Education. The same process that has to run for a subsidy of a million guilders has to happen for a subsidy of 5,000. This is in reference to the checks and balances and so forth that have to happen. I've seen these low amount advices occurring quite frequently since my time as minister. And when our population size and the frequency of these requests was low, this was possibly more rational an approach to public spending. A way to kickstart interest and participation in these industries and sectors. However, as our population grew and as we saw the frequency of these requests increase, there should have been a shift to a different type of model that kind of takes into consideration our current reality. I've been in discussions with several private sector companies, as well as the Aruba Investment Bank and the St. Martin Development Fund, to see how we could establish an external, non-governmental fund to address these types of items and then phase it away from the ministry. And there'll be more communication coming out about this. It's not going to just be something that happens today for tomorrow. It's really going to be well discussed and well communicated, but it is going to happen. So it is going to be something that we move towards, but of course not without implementing, or at least facilitating the implementation of a separate catch net for these small requests. So that's just to put it on everybody's radar. Whoever writes about it. You can contact me for a comment if you want. But yes, just to put it on your radar that this is something that is going to be happening. It is going to be communicated to the public, and it is going to come with a fallback to kind of slip in and fill the gap once the ministry moves away from these small incidental subsidies. In terms of culture updates, we're close to finalizing the MOU with SMDF on the $5.3 million Future Roots project, which is, of course, the slavery remembrance money from the Netherlands that was granted to the ministry. There are going to be 9 projects that are going to be executed, including a scholarship fund for those who want to study heritage protection, restoration, those studies in that line of cultural and heritage preservation activities. I think such a study would help be able to work, honestly, not just on St. Martin, but anywhere in the Caribbean. And that's really my goal with that scholarship fund, to build capacity, not just for us, but if I think back again to my conversation in Carifesta, where they were then beginning to train first responders on how to handle like heritage items, artifacts, stuff like that, in post hurricane or post disaster scenario. Before it happened is that people go in, they walk wherever, they travel wherever, and you can honestly have some of your tangible heritage items destroyed or damaged by first responders who mean well, but ultimately lack the training and the knowledge to know how to address or how to handle certain uh, materials they may come across in a post disaster scenario. And finally, for youth, I'm trying to structure the live stream where I give you an update per every department, right? Maybe not every division would take me forever, but every department we could do. Um, Youth Cabinet first meeting this Thursday, February 12th. This meeting is the one meeting where I set the agenda, and it's really just an introductory agenda, an explanation of what's going to be happening with Youth Cabinet. And then following that, all agendas and points are going to be set by Youth Cabinet members. So that's, essentially what I want to, again, bring across. There's confusion in some areas of the community where, is the ministry going to be setting the agenda? No. I think if we're going to be real about youth participation and youth involvement in policy direction, legislative repair and reform, you have to actually let them tell you what they want to talk about. Now, it can get, these are high schoolers, so I'm assuming it's not going to be like what my Mac JAG Group 7A class always asked me to do, which is, make a law to ban pineapple on pizza. So it's not going to be that, but it probably will be some very hard-hitting stuff. If you've read A Teen Times in the last 3-4 years, you know that they have some serious concerns about their well-being, about their future on St. Martin, not just in terms of employment and employability, but also in terms of their health, in terms of inclusivity in the community, in terms of the level of education that they receive, whether at a public or a subsidized school. So I'm really looking forward to the agendas that they set for us moving forward. Meetings are going to be every month. But the first meeting, the introductory meeting, is this Thursday, February 12th. So I'm very much looking forward to meeting the kids and hearing what they have to say, and then doing my utmost best to take what they want to see happen in public policy and law and implementing it or supplementing what the ministry is already doing with those agenda points. So that is pretty much the updates for today. I do have a com meeting today, so I gotta go and finalize my preparation for that. Thank you for tuning in. Next week we'll be back with the usual updates, and hopefully, nothing too crazy happens. So I hope everybody has a great day. I hope you stay dry. Stay dry. And please remember, just because it's raining doesn't mean you have to lose all sense when driving. Don't do that. Don't do that. We all know how to drive, and we know how to drive in the rain. So yeah. But have a wonderful wet day and stay dry.